As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
One of the worst performances of my career, and they never doubted it for a second.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Son of a bitch. He stole my life.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Welcome back to the Shot by Shot podcast, a conversation on the newest film by David Cronenberg, The Shrouds, a meditation on grief, surveillance, modern technology and conspiracy, a lot of themes that he has explored throughout his career. If you've not seen Shrouds, which is pretty likely, I think, it's not got a very wide release anywhere, especially in the UK here, but you will most certainly be familiar with Cronenberg, even if you've just seen one or two of his films. He has created some of the greatest body horror and science fiction classics, such as The Fly, Videodrome, Scanners, Crash, The Good Crash, and many of some of the greatest horror films over the last 50 years of his career. And compared to stuff in the past, the technology that is used in the Shrouds and the science fiction elements of this do not seem so far away at all, really. I don't know if anybody would actually want to do it, but it's definitely feasible. And if you've not seen The Shrouds, it centers around the businessman Karsh, played by Vincent Cassel, who owns a cemetery where his grave's fitted with brand new technology, and it basically allows you to watch your loved one's corpse at any moment of the day on your phone at any time. He describes it as being an 8K resolution, and it's basically like a 3D render of their body. Um, and it's one night the cemetery's broken into and the graves are destroyed, and including his recently deceased wife. And that's the basically setup of these new science fiction drama horror comedy. There's a lot of genres in here. Letterboxd says it's a horror, but I don't know if it really can be defined by any genre here. It really fits nicely into his filmography. I think a lot of thematic through lines throughout his career, which you can be seen if you've seen a lot of his films. It's definitely one of his more personal films, probably his most, maybe. He's used the film to kind of grieve the recent death of his wife, very similar to the protagonist in the story. It's a really stand-in for Cronenberg, even looking like him. Vincent Cassel has the hair of Cronenberg, and it kind of looks like him. This is a film where I think it helps to be versed in the history of his career. It's not necessary, but this isn't the first film where he has kind of blatantly inserted himself in big elements of his like current personal life into the story. I just watched The Brood, which parallels the end of this kind of. It was the end of his first marriage, where he doesn't hold back about the divorce and the custody of his kids. There's some parallels there. Shrouds is listed, like many of Cronenberg's films, as a horror, despite not being overtly filled with it. Like most of his films, they're not full of body horror like you would expect. If you've just seen something like The Fly, he doesn't. Cronenberg does not go that far with his body horror most of the time. It usually comes in small chunks, and that's more what you're going to get in this film. It's not quite classic Cronenberg, I guess, like his last film was. A little bit more internalized than Crimes of the Future. It's digitized as well compared to something like that. But there's a lot of stuff in here that you've seen in his other films. It's largely plotted with a conspiracy, which is no stranger to stuff like Videodrome, The Brood again, Dead Zone, Scanners. And again, it's a current state of technology that he's exploring, taking a peek at possibly what it's going to evolve into. He's done that with like Existenz, Videodrome again, where he pretty much predicted social media and the internet in the 80s. And I don't know if he's going to predict exactly as he did crazy like that. Maybe in 20 years we'll be watching our loved ones through corpses on our phones, but I don't know. I don't know if he's going to make quite a prediction like they did last time. But yeah, a very interesting film. Oscar, what did you think about The Shrouds?
Yeah, where to start? Where to start? There's so much going on, so much to talk about this film. I think, especially specifically this year, there's a lot of my favorite films this year, and a lot of kind of the more independent ones have been centered around grief. Which, if you had told me that at the beginning, I'd kind of call you crazy, because I'm kind of adverse to the idea that I think a lot of mainstream films seem to be they never really handle it well, and it's usually really superficial and one note and all derivative of each other. But this included with a load of other films like Seven Veils and Invention and On Becoming a Guinea Fowl have really surprised me in a way that I didn't expect, but I honestly really needed, because grief has kind of been the main headline for me in a lot of my favorite films this year. And this is another one of those, and it is completely unique to itself. I said that I don't think I've ever seen a film quite capture the the kind of digital contemporary age that we're living in now than what this film does. And obviously, um, like you said, this is a very personal film for Cronenberg, and it is. I was watching an interview actually with the New York Film Festival last year, and he was just talking about how everything comes from your understanding of life. And he was asked about, he doesn't really find making movies cathartic at all. He's just said, I'm suffering, and and that's how I'm dealing with it. And I think it is quite reflective in this film, and I think he is a filmmaker, like across his whole filmography, just, and I know he's talked about it before, but he just never looks back once. And I think this film, one of the most powerful things is I think it acts as a nostalgia repellent. I think there's this idea with grief that that films just slowly slip into kind of the past, and using that as your kind of base for trauma. But this is kind of opposite. This kind of grief is coming from the present or the future even. And uh, I was kind of really taken back by uh, how messy and almost improvised this film feels in a way, because I don't think there's any better way to capture like I said, the digital age than having a film that feels completely improvised and moving from one thing to the next as quick as you like. And he's one of the only directors that I think could pull it off in the way that it happens in this film. Um, but yeah, I think this is one of his very best films, and with age, he is, like I said, he never looks back. He's only looking forward, and he doesn't really. He said he really doesn't have an attachment to his past films either. He kind of calls them like estranged children. Like maybe once in a while they'll like come back into my life briefly, and I think the Shrouds is just another kind of um resemblance of that. And I know you were talking about like him kind of resurfacing his ideas, and I think in a sense yes, but I think this is one of those films of him that is taking those ideas and completely kind of recontextualized them um into what this film is, which is like just geopolitics, just hyper mediated. You're staring at so many different screens. It's so uncanny. It's really uncomfortable. And it is, despite not necessarily being a horror film, it's got some really horrifying imagery in it that we will get into. But yeah, it is pretty incredible, and I'm glad it lived up to every bit of hype that I had coming into it.
I wish it resonated a little bit more, but I say that about nearly every Cronenberg, to be honest. It's someone who's really progressive and really pushes the boundaries of horror films, but it never quite resonates with me for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's probably my favorite like writing of any films I've seen from him. I think it's really funny, especially in the beginning. I know Vincent Cassell makes that comment where like the woman's so disturbed by seeing this horrible rendered image of his decomposing wife, and he's like, "Oh, it's a classic wide-angle shot." It's like that got a few laughs in my cinema. All that sort of stuff I loved. I think the first half is really quite comedy focused, and then it slowly starts to like degenerate into like really strange. I mean, the whole Honey character is really strange, and she becomes like part of the grander conspiracy. Like the geopolitical conspiracy stuff. I don't know if the film wanted you to take literally or not. All of that conspiracy stuff is where it started to lose me a little bit. And Guy Pearce's character is So it's such a strange inclusion as well. So all of that and him not quite resonating with me, but the typical Cronenberg disturbing, like slow little peaks at the body horror, like the wife in his dreams who kept decomposing slowly and slowly, talking about the doctor taking parts of her away. It was like that made me more uncomfortable than anything in The Fly, just because of the like implication and what you can't see, and the sound design of certain scenes as well. You're always on edge, thinking a bone's gonna like break or something.
Oh,
I know when that
that was
bone
bad.
break scene happened, someone in my cinema literally screamed, and so I was like on edge for the rest of the film because of that. Yeah, it's not. It's a film that the more I think about, the less it resonates. Mainly because, like I said, that second half, like conspiracy stuff, I just either couldn't take it seriously or couldn't buy into all of that, and I think it was intentionally quite ridiculous. I would have liked a little more focus on the technology as it was presented in the beginning, as opposed to it like being destroyed. And the actual shrouds themselves, capes that he's wearing in that one scene, I think that's really clever, like design. And I'd like a bit more dive into the technological aspects, but I think for Cronenberg and my expectations of a Cronenberg, it met them. I don't love him as much as you two, and don't know about his life as much, but it was a good one. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know Ryan pointed to it, but the scenes where is the way that Vincent Cassell delivers the dialogue about the 8K resolution and 360 cameras is hysterical. And the funniest thing is how many times he brings it up and feels the need to say it is so funny. And this kind of obsession with always wanting to see things in a way and kind of and the digitalization of everything, like everything has to be on a screen in this film. And I think there's kind of bits where he's talking with Guy Pearce's character about, oh, why don't you just go down to like the graveyard? And he's like, no, I want to be here like through the screens. And um this kind of replacement of the kind of headstones and stuff, like they were talking about um having though you get kind of gravestones where they have like actual pictures and them fading in comparison to the kind of digital screens that they use on there. But yeah, it is really hysterical, this obsession that we have with um, of resolution and all the cameras and everything. But I know Dan, you were talking about the second half, which obviously I absolutely loved. Uh, this whole conspiracy thing, like you really never know the truth. It's like it is in so ambiguous, this second half and the ending, like you never really know what is true. And again, I think that is quite reflective of misinformation and how everything is consumed through a screen, and the idea that anything that you're seeing kind of online and stuff could be true, and a lot of people take that for kind of face value in a way. um, but yeah, I know a lot of people were quite disheartened about Cronenberg's idea of grief in this, and specifically the use of comedy, because he was saying that he found people like, should I be laughing at this? And are like, are we allowed to laugh at this? And I don't know about you, but I was laughing. I thought it was really hilarious in moments. But yeah, I don't know what you guys thought of that.
There was. It's. I mean, the like plot around like centered around the grief is just like ridiculous. It's like you have to laugh. I think the first one that got me was it opens on the shot in the scene with his dentist, and he asks him if he wants
Mm,
JPEGs of his wife's teeth. um, there's some absolute wild lines in here. I think
mm,
Vincent Cassell is speaking to Yeah, Diane Kruger. He's
Who
speaking
plays like
to
3
her. Well,
characters.
Yeah, yeah. So he
I
plays
didn't
her
realize until
wife.
afterwards that she was playing the wife and the sister-in-law. I
Um,
genuinely didn't see that. I don't know why.
yeah, I'm not sure if they're supposed to be twins, like as part of like the in-world story or not, or if it's just like
Hmm.
just happened to be like that. Um, but yeah, he's speaking to the sister-in-law version, and she's like grooming the dog, and he says like, "Loving, would you not prefer to love dogs through surgery?" And after Crimes of the Future, that is like such a wild thing for him to
It
come out with
is.
at like the start of his film. She also brings up dogs later on in
Oh
the scene.
yeah.
Are we going to spoilers?
Oh no. Yeah, yeah, we are.
Okay, so full spoilers. If you've not seen the Shrouds, definitely go see it. But yeah, there's a whole thing about Guy Pearce worrying about him like cheating with or not cheating, but sleeping with his ex-wife. And eventually they do, and she again brings up the dog whilst they're like sleeping with each other. I'm just like, why do why do you keep bringing up this idea, Cronenberg?
Oh dear. Yeah, that kind of obviously the Cronenberg body horror, like one of the opening lines that Dennis says is grief is rotting your teeth, and this kind of concept as grief is becoming onto our bodies. You know, obviously Cronenberg is fascinated by the idea of transformation of the human body and the limits of what our body can do in a way. But now it's kind of moving towards because he obviously kind of views it as this almost like a time a time bomb in a way, our bodies like we're going to get a point where it is starting to deteriorate, and he is kind of obsessed with this idea of like what can we do to change this once it gets to a point where everything is fading, and it changes from film to film. Like you might get like a younger set of protagonists, maybe something like Crash, like middle age, like this is maybe slightly older. But yeah, Cronenberg has this kind of conjoined philosophy across a lot of his films, but every time I always find there's always something new that he talks about, and yeah, it's so refreshing. And like I said, this being like I viewed it as a nostalgia repellent in a way. It just feels so refreshing, and not to have something trauma that kind of slips down the hill of getting stuck in the past, and this is the exact opposite to that. But I know you were mentioning in the beginning, Ryan. One of the best things about this film is, despite it being covered and glossed in a sci-fi feel, there is something very doable about everything that happens in this film that and I think is quite reflective on the state of technology and capitalism in a way that is like you get marketed things that will be like futuristic, but in reality it's really not that different from what we're doing now. And I think this is the exact same. And it is, once you kind of mind thinks about it in that way, like we really could do this. It starts to become that
I didn't even think of it as like a futuristic movie until like I was reading like reviews after, and people were like describing it as that. I did consider this like a contemporary kind of film, just happened to be in a world
yeah.
where someone done that.
He's kind of imagining a future that isn't really a future, but it's kind of
Mm.
masked in a way that makes it seem like the future, like all the really uncanny CGI corpses, and like I said, the really uncomfortably composed phone sequences, which are like the way they're put on, like this what's playing on the phones and tablets, like put on in a slightly off way that you can tell that it's not real, like it's not what's actually on that shot, like they've done it over, if you know what I mean. And
Like
yeah,
CGI in post.
CGI in post,
Yeah.
yeah, and it is really really uncomfortable, and um, yeah, is not fine to look out for like a prolonged period of time, which I think this film does so well on holding that. But I know Cronenberg talks about technology and he sees it as totally human, which I think is really interesting. And he's kind of Karsh is a character who kind of battles with the kind of relationship between technology and humanity, and Body and soul as well. I think it is another interesting thing that kind of goes on in that, and the afterlife kind of being forced to digital, and how we're not really letting like loved ones rest anymore, and he kind of almost gets allergic to the sight of flesh because he just prefers to do things through a screen, um, which is kind of pushed and pushed and pushed in this film. But yeah, I think the best thing about this film is how kind of awkwardly real it feels. But I think the CGI corpses, there's the sequence where he's putting on the shrouds, and then for a split second, when it's generating the image, you get this shot of like the corpse generating on the computer, and it gets to a point where it's like headless, and it's honestly, I think that's probably the most horrifying shot in the film. It's like really awkwardly generated flesh with no head on it, and it is ridiculously uncomfortable. And then but it's even the fact that what they're seeing on the screen is like they're wanting it to be as real as possible, but it's still rendered through CGI, and it almost is, it's still like you're wanting to believe that it is real, but it's like it's still really detached in a sense. um like what they're able to see, like the decomposed body. And yeah, Karsh is an interesting character, but I think a great resemblance to this kind of tech male kind of tech leaders, and the kind of wealth that is dominated through that. You know, you get kind of this subplot with, I think it's like Hungarians, and he says like, I want this guy I want his rotting corpse in my graveyard. And it's like you're just commodifying dead bodies now. It's like it does get crazy, and it rapidly evolves, um, but almost perfectly attuned to this kind of hyper-mediated, automated world. Like I said,
there's a consistency I've seen with like the really negative reviews, the people who hate this. Because if you look on Letterboxd, most of the ratings are quite high, but there are some people who like hate this film, and a lot of them are like repulsed by. They say he's like objectifying his wife and it's fetishistic, but I don't know. I think that wraps around to sort of both Karsh as a character is clearly not presented as like a perfect person, and also I don't know. It's strange to me viewing it that way. Someone who's clearly grieving. I'm not saying you can't criticize a grief-driven film, but the film is quite uncanny and apathetic in certain ways and quite cold. It's not a deliberate objectification of like anyone in the film. It's just another way to sort of explore the the scarier side of technology. Like Oscar said, the image generation. No one's really complaining about any of that. It's all to do with like his wife. It's just an interesting view of it, which I definitely don't agree with. But I suppose I said earlier I was made uncomfortable by those scenes, but in like a positive sort of horror focused way. Whereas it seems some people are actually like repulsed by it in like a moral way, which I think is quite an interesting read on the film.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't agree. I think that's quite a bad reading of the movie, like a bad reading of what Cronenberg's like doing in the movie. But I think it's there. Like, it's definitely he's being very vulnerable, and it's a very like taboo way of exploring it, because like, of course he probably would. Like, he's not just a person that like he's got like an emotional connection with. Like, he's lived with that person for what, like 40 years or whatever. I don't know how long he was married to his wife, but it's a very like personal kind of exploration of like just missing his wife, and he's gonna miss like her body as well. And a lot of his films are like, he's also known for like not only his body horror, but his films are very sexual, and he's like, I think he's quite a sexualized person in his life. I don't know. I think it's a very kind of like personal way of exploring it, and it's very real. And it's the fact that it is like taboo is probably why people have such a visceral reaction to it. But I think it's just, I think it's quite interesting. I think it's the most interesting side of the film.
I think vulnerable is like the best way to describe it. Yeah, I think some
Mm.
people are just uncomfortable by how like straight on it is. Maybe it's people not
Mm.
familiar with Cronenberg's work as much, because I have seen in the same reviews they're like complaining about how the technology doesn't make sense and wouldn't happen in the real world. But like, it's a Cronenberg film. Like, no one questions how the fly like teleporter works. You're just supposed to like take it as face value. It's not about the technology itself, but like the like human like readings on it.
Metaphors do exist.
Yeah.
Shock horror to some people. Yeah, I think like I was talking about how this film kind of rapidly evolves. I think this is kind of pushing back against the films that are about kind of AI and innovation that are so single-minded in their concept. Like this film just refuses to be about any one thing, and it doesn't really employ like superficial ideas to kind of set its world. Um, like in a lot of Cronenberg things, it's like it'll be like blank is the new sex, like Crimes of the Future was like surgery is the new sex, and this is like conspiracy is the new sex, because obviously we have Diane Kruger's character, the sister-in-law who gets seems to get turned on when Kaj starts talking about conspiracy theories. And then kind of death is like the digital rebirth in this. And I'm always fascinated about like where he's going to go with that every time, because there's always something new. But yeah, his filmography is fascinating. His 2010s work is uh, he 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 has come such a long way in a sense, but he has consistently found his groove in like every era that he's been making films. Obviously, kind of early stuff like Rabbit and stuff like that, but there is like incredible films in like every decade that he's made a film. And I think even his 2010 stuff like Maps to the Stars and Cosmopolis, which are a lot more diversive and polarizing than some of his other work. Like people really despise both of those films. I really love both of them. They are quite different and both kind of tonally, and the way they're kind of delivered, the actors as well is quite similar, even though they're fairly different films, subject matter wise. But kind of Crimes of the Future and the Shrouds is such an interesting way to kind of start his run in the 2020s, and there's really no one doing it like him, and is just fascinating.
I even find Shivers and Rabid pretty interesting. Is like just like these like really early 70s like grindhouse pure like genre movies. Um, I mean they're kind of similar to his 70s work in the way that like the initial concept is interesting, and like they kind of get lost in a way at points, but then they pull themselves back, and I feel like that's kind of the structure of a lot of these like 80s and 70s stuff. Like I feel like what Daniel was saying are like you kind of get lost after that initial concept, and I think that maybe has a problem with some of his films. Parts in here with the conspiracy for me, that's where I kind of struggled to find my way into the movie, but there's not a film that I don't like from him.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you're talking about getting lost in this film. I perfectly see that, but I think I genuinely do not. I think that is the perfect way to capture um, how a lot of society is living now,
Mm.
and like I said, this almost improvised feel to the scripting, and just moving in and out of various ideas, and never really knowing the truth and what is real. And yeah, maybe that's just me. I know a number of people had similar readings, but
Yeah.
as for every Cronenberg film, the graph and letterbox is kind of stuck in the middle with ratings everywhere, but I will not have it any other way.
I didn't love the conspiracy, but I did like a reading that he kind of he didn't explain it, but he kind of gave insight into kind of that criticism of the conspiracy, and he said that like after the death of his wife, you almost in your grief you start to almost conspiracize like everything that happened up to her death, and like were the doctors really giving her the best care, and did I do everything I could do for her? And I think that is kind of maybe what's going into the conspiracy stuff. I don't fairly see that from the movie itself, but I like the way he kind of explained that side of it.
Yeah, I don't actually mind the conspiracy itself. It's the way it's like presented. It felt like a crackhead off the street, like trying to like explain.
Exactly.
Some people like that, but I don't know the lack of cohesion to it all, especially when the first half. Like you said, I was quite invested into it. It just sort of spiraled out of nowhere, and Guy Pearce's character was always a little bit unstable, really sort of
So
spiraling.
funny.
So yeah, I don't know, not how I would have ended my film, and I thought it ended quite abruptly, to be honest. But
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I was not expecting it.
I wasn't expecting it to end there.
Did you guys notice, like, we get to that scene where it's like down by the water, he's like missing 2 fingers,
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
and he said that it just happened, but then the sister-in-law said that had been there the entire time. That I was like trying to think, like, had we seen that before? I was like trying to think back, and
no,
like,
they
have we
don't
seen him
acknowledge
with
it.
the fingers missing? I was like trying to figure out which is real and which is not. But no, that was really really funny. Yeah, his character is such an incel. Um, um, it, but yeah, but I think the kind of I'm really fascinated by the concept of like a simulacrum, and I think this film represents that in a way. Like simulacrum is kind of something that's like a representation of a representation, something that like loses its meaning as it kind of falls down this kind of chain of ideas, whether that's like I don't know, like a fake Eiffel Tower in Vegas, or like is orange juice the actual taste of an orange in that sense. And I think this film really deals with this kind of morphing of reality and what comes to terms with like the origin or reality of something. And yeah, I'm just fascinated by that in that way. But no, I really like the ending, and Howard Shore is still got it, still criminally underrated. Great
He
score in
is,
this.
yeah.
Crimes in the Future, fantastic score as well. What else is he known for apart from Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings.
Apart from
Hobbit, I
Lord of the
guess.
Rings, The Hobbit, yeah. But what I'm trying to think, what other work has he done? So he's done quite a few Cronenberg scores.
Mainly
Da- da- da-
Cronenberg, I think.
um, let
But
me
that's a
have a
lot of
look.
films.
Load up. The Shrouds.
It's very similar to. It's a very like synth score. It's similar to Crimes of the Future.
Yes, it is. Composer Howard Shore. Silence of the Lambs 7, Departed, wow. So few works of Fincher, he's done some After Hours, yeah, Scorsese, load of Scorsese, load of Fincher, literally all of David Cronenberg's films pretty much. Yeah, so it's extensive as hell. But yeah, no, he still seems underrated, honestly, at the moment. But I don't think he's not doing too much work, mainly just with Cronenberg. But no, I thought that score was really, really fantastic. And also, I know if I see another person say this is a Tesla product placement, that is literally the entire point of the film. Like that has gone straight over your head. That
Have you
is,
seen him? He was on the Big Picture podcast. Did you see him talk about the Tesla?
No, what did he say? People are
Well,
misreading that so badly.
he said it was because obviously the character in is like a businessman. I don't know if he's like a millionaire. We don't know how rich he is, but I guess he probably is.
Yeah,
But he said like that's
yeah,
just how or what they would drive because he'd be interested in like a Tesla as like the front of technology, and he
yeah.
drives a Tesla himself um in real life, and he said, but I think he kind of isn't kind of embarrassed about it now because of Elon Musk. Like that he wrote this film before like Musk got like really bad. Um, like a lot of Tesla. If you see a Tesla in real life now, I think like 50% of the time there's a sign on it, like saying like I bought this before I knew what Elon Musk was like. I always see that in real
The
life.
cars suck anyway, so no, but I think it is almost perfectly a resemblance of this film having that Tesla car in there, even if that's not necessarily the full intentions. That was my reading of it anyway. But I think people saying that this is like a Tesla product placement is crazy.
No, it's so obviously like commentary, and Honey as well is like a commentary on all the little
Mm.
personal, like Grok and like all the. I mean, every phone has an AI assistant now. It's clearly
Mm.
going over people's heads. I mean, looking at reviews, so did the
And
Shroud technology itself. Yeah.
yeah, that scene where um she transforms, so she's got like the Honey's got like one arm and all the scars over,
Oh
and
yeah.
everything is that was I was like,
Oh, and
yeah,
she goes to the Black Lodge.
yeah, I was thinking that as well. When it occurred, I was like, yeah, this is so Twin Peaks. I was thinking that as well. But yeah, no, that sequence is horrifying. Just like yeah, and like the scene with like the dreams of like the wife, and obviously there's kind of questions around that scene where I think Karsh asks, am I asleep or are you still alive? And obviously this is leading up to kind of the sequence that we end on, where we see the kind of the blind girl that he's been with the entire time has that on the plane, has that like that on the plane, but she has like that bodily transformation into the state that his wife was in, which is where we end on. But yeah, those kind of whole dream sequences are really, really something. Especially the collar as well. That was yeah, and I just knew it was going to happen when they're on the bed and the hiff, and oh, I was like cringing in like discomfort so hard, like anticipating that it was going to happen. I thought it was gonna be like really really bad, as in there was going to be more of it. But no, the silhouettes as well, like her just standing in the doorway. I was sweating badly in those sequences, and like you can just see like the stump of her arm as well, and yeah, it's yeah, it was bad. It was really bad.
Yeah, they're the most effective like scenes I've seen in a long time in a cinema. Like I was actually like nervous, and it's like I said, it's probably my favorite. The silhouettes are my favorite sort of imagery from him, just because of how implied and like subtle they are in comparison to some of his ridiculous body horror stuff.
Mm,
Obviously the fact that people do go through like a complete annihilation of the bodies from cancer and things like that as well, and the fact that it's
mm,
so personal to him. Yeah, I think there's that one bone cracking scene, obviously, and then like you said, you're anticipating it in every other scene, which just makes it so much worse. Yeah,
mm,
the dreams I was like actively dreading whenever he went to bed, because I was like, here we go, there's another dream sequence.
yeah. And then we get Um, and then we get to that scene where really nice shot, by the way, one of the best shots in the film, I think. Well, best images in a way, where the graveyard has been like done up again, and like those two walking, and all of the screens come on at the same time, and like we see that the doctor that treated his wife has supposedly, but we don't know, been killed and buried in the grave, but we don't know if it's true because it's only through the screen that we see his dead body. Again, absolutely no idea if it's true.
Yeah, do you
um,
think he killed him? Is that what it's
we
implying?
don't know. That's what I think this film does so well, is building up this distrust and um, of digitalization, in a sense that like it could be like you could really believe anything on a screen nowadays, and that's what a lot of people fall for. Um, but you really second guess yourself so much in this, um, especially with the ending as well.
Well, I'm interested to hear what you think about like the visual style of the film, because I think that's probably what I struggled with the most. I don't,
Really, I think
yeah, I
I
don't
I
know that.
really love. I really do. I know I saw a clip last year of David. He's been interviewed by some teenagers. Actually, a quite good interview. Um, um, he was talking about Tarantino wanted a print made of the Shrouds for his
Mm,
theater in LA, and David just refused. He's like, no. He is one of those guys that was fully firm to digital filmmaking. I think it looks great personally. I think he's one of those filmmakers that has genuinely mastered how digital filmmaking can look and should look in a sense. But no, for me, no, I thought it was really fantastic. Both day night sequences look fine, well lit, and yeah, it was good. I really did like it.
I liked the night sequences. Anytime it was dark, I think it looked good. You know, like the bright lights from the actual shrouds themselves. Like there's
Mm,
the poster is the
Mm.
blue lights. That looks good.
mm.
The uncanniness of the visuals of like the bodies. They're quite. There's like the
Oh
scene at
yeah.
the beginning where they're underground and like the like fireflies lighting up her corpse. That's like uncanny in a positive way. And then obviously there's the silhouette scenes. Yeah, it's not something I like actively thought about, which just suggests to me that it looked fine. It didn't
Mm.
like blow my mind, but it didn't like. I don't think it's a bad looking film. His older stuff, I think I prefer the look of, but no, it was for a digital film. I thought it looked quite good. To be fair,
Yeah, I still like his digital like late style because I think Crimes of the Future is honestly one of his best looking films because it's basically a noir. I'd say that they're kind of going for, and the use of lighting and when they're using like artificial lighting in this, like when he's in his house or those like really dark scenes with his wife, I think it's really good. Um, I don't particularly care for like his new cinematographer that he's working with, David Koch.
Do you want
Which
to know why? Do you want to know why? It is
why?
because of Brexit. That is why.
Well,
I was watching the interview. So when you're working with production companies from different countries, like Brexit happened, and it completely meant that he couldn't work with the cinematographer that he was working with. That is why.
really?
Yes.
So
But
it's
anyway,
he's been working
I
with a
still
couple of
think
decades, I think.
great. But yeah, that is why it changed.
Interesting. Wait, so that must have happened, what, just post COVID? Oh, I guess he hadn't
Yes.
made the film actually.
Uh,
It's Crimes of the
Crimes of the
Future he worked
Future.
with. Yeah, Crimes of the
Who
Future.
did he
This.
work?
Um, he also. Oh no, he worked with him on Crimes of the Future as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
love the way this film looks.
he also loaned them out to his daughter for Humane. You remember we watched that? I didn't like it. I don't like
Oh
how that film
yeah,
looked.
Humane. Oh, that film sucks. Brandon, on the other hand, is more promising
I like
than
Brandon. Yeah.
I like Brandon as well. Possessor's good. Antivirus is really interesting. It's very much a Cronenberg. All of the Cronenberg genes are still strong, but yeah, antiviral is like
Mm.
yeah, is a crazy concept. Have any of you guys seen that?
no, I
I've
haven't.
not. I've only seen his latest one.
I've seen
Do you know what it's
Possessor.
about?
It's very good.
Possessor's good. Antiviral is about an employee at a clinic that sells injections of live viruses harvested from sick celebrities to obsessive fans.
Right.
It
Oh,
is
Infinity Pool. Yep.
Infinity Pool,
I
yeah.
don't like that. Mia Goth is so good in it that she ruins it, which is so annoying. I cannot
she,
stand her in that film. It just ruins
she's
it.
so good though.
Hmm.
Infinity Pool's fine. I like it.
Yeah, I really
Nah,
liked his latest
Possessor,
one.
Possessor's really cool though. I really like that film. So yeah, he is very. Some people are pretty opposed to his films. But yeah, Possessor's a really cool film. Has he got anything else on the radar coming up? Possibly. But no, interesting filmmaker.
Yeah,
Who made Humane? What's her name? Caitlin
Caitlin
Cronenberg.
Cronenberg.
Um,
Mhm.
Not a good film. Yeah,
I think
that
this looks
was.
similar to that at times.
Yeah, but that film's kind of boring. Is it? It's all one location, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all in the house.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's not the digitalness that's the problem for me here. It's just I didn't think it was super interesting compared to Crimes of the Future, where like the kind of set design and the like all the practical effects and cool gore and kind of whole art direction and that is going along with it. To create this like one of the coolest movies that he's made. Whereas this one's kind of like that very clean, clinical, like very modern, like like his apartment and the gravesite and stuff is all very clean and like artificial, like like modern technology wise, if you get what I mean. Um, Not that a lot of these films aren't really stylistically like over the top, I guess. With the production design, like
Mm,
Existence, like is working like virtual reality settings, which you'd expect it to be like real over
mm.
the top, but he basically just turns
It's
like the virtual
it's
reality
really
into like the
not.
real world. Yeah,
Yeah,
so he's not one to like go over the top with his like
yeah,
production design and all that
fairly
outside of his
fairly
last film.
minimalist.
Yeah.
But I think that's such um a a thing with modern production design is that all the awards just go to the things with the biggest production design, and they are never ever things that are kind of complement the storytelling in a way or the environment. It's always about who has the biggest, who can make the biggest sets, and that's what's winning you awards. So I commend Cronenberg in that sense because I think is like the production is minimal. I know we can get films made
Mhm.
fairly regularly on. What was the budget of this actually?
I'm not sure actually.
Let's have a look. If it's over 10 million, I'd be yeah maybe. It would no, that's not what I'm looking for. Production.
It made such a depressing amount of money. One and a
Yeah,
half.
but
Well,
that's the
yeah,
thing with Cronenberg's.
But they didn't even try the distributor. They thought it was going to be like
that's like
a bomb, so they didn't
It
even
is really
bother.
depressing to
yeah.
the Cronenberg has kind of fallen below this kind of mainstream thing, but
Oh,
still,
that is true, but if you look at the trivia to any of these films, like Videodrome got the
Mm.
exact same thing. They dumped it because they didn't know how to market it. Like this has been a problem like his whole career, basically.
And
I
he's
mean,
still one of the best.
my cinema's pretty good at showing like artsier stuff, I suppose, and it got one showing,
Mm,
I think. And
yeah.
it had a decent turnout, so it's a shame they didn't even bother.
Mm, it does suck.
It's not
Just as long.
marketable to like general
How old is
audiences.
he now? He's like 80, I think.
Yeah, 80
Yeah,
something.
I hope he has like maybe one more in him. I'd really like to see that. Anyway, kind
Uh,
of a good swan song anyway.
He doesn't strike
it
me as a
would.
guy
I
who
think he's
cares
the.
about like box office anymore, or
Oh
ever
no, he
has, to be
doesn't.
honest. So I don't think it matters
No.
too much. But the only people losing money are the studios. So who
Mm,
cares really?
Yeah, his like 70s, 80s runs. There's like commercial films thrown in there, but I
yeah.
think definitely more of like recently he's kind of gotten more of a art
But
house kind of reputation, I guess.
yeah, The
And like,
Flies
Mm.
is
not that his
only
films have
like
always been artistic.
The Flies is only
Oh
like pop
yeah.
culture zeitgeist film, as in like my parents have seen it, which is a good indicator that it's like really
But
good.
his um his 2000s like History of Violence and Eastern Promises, like they still have body horror-esque elements like the gore in that, but they're quite detached in uh I guess in people don't really think about those necessarily as Cronenberg films like a wider audience. So like I
Mm.
think maybe they're more popular, but people don't really realize that he made them. Um
Well, yeah,
but yeah, I
Crimes of
think
the
anything
Future was kind
after
of a return to that, and then that got released in like Odeons and Cineworlds and stuff, didn't it? I think that got a
it
proper
did, yes.
release. Yeah,
It did,
because you could
yeah.
market it as a horror movie.
True. Um, yeah, Crimes of the Future is really incredible. I think it's one of his best, as with this one as well.
Mm.
So it's not like he's gone anywhere. But yeah, his like Maps to the Stars and Cosmopolis is just really unmarketable. Like I know you guys, I don't think Daniel's seen either of those films, and Brian hasn't seen Maps to the Stars. But those are like, yeah, he really went against. Um, that kind of mainstream idea in those films, which I both love. Yeah, really interesting positions in his career, and it is
Well, yeah, it's
fascinating.
Cosmopolis. I mean, if you looked at it now, like uh, Robert Pattinson movie, would probably would be marketable now, but back then he
Both
was
of
the
them have got
Twilight
Robert
guy.
Pattinson in. Both of them have
Yeah,
got
that was
Robert
at the
film.
time that was probably anti like commercial for like promoting
Yeah,
because I mean he was popular but he was not looked at as like a good actor back then.
Maps to the Stars has got Julianne Moore, Robert Pattinson, John Cusack, Mia Wasikowska, and Carrie Fisher has a cameo of herself in that film. Like the cast is good. Yeah, there's some weird. Yeah, that film is strange, but I really like it. Yeah, odd vibes coming out of that film.
Yeah, it is a shame that whenever we talk about like these like old guard legends on we have to talk about the financing and how they struggle with it, which I feel like is
Yeah,
just happening everybody now. Um,
Yeah, is there
yeah,
anyone who
that
doesn't struggle? Who's like an old god? I guess
I was gonna say Scorsese there, but he has to go to
Spielberg
streamers.
technically is old god, but that's such a ridiculous. He's like
He ruined it for
the
everybody,
god of
and
film.
then
Like he doesn't get affected by anything else.
yeah.
Yeah, Scorsese even I think has struggled a bit.
Even Spielberg though he has to make. I don't know if he necessarily has to make them, but he does make commercial films outside of like the very personal ones like Fablemans.
Yeah, I think everyone's sort of bound to.
the Fablemans
do-
is kind of mid though.
It's not mid.
By mid, do you mean like masterpiece and some of his best work?
It's not a
Yeah.
masterpiece, and it's not mid. You are
Let's hope Josh
both
O'Connor
dealing in
can carry him
absolutes.
to a good film next year. Right, yeah, is
Nice.
Common Domingo in it as well? The UFO film. I think he is.
I'm not sure. Emily Blunt is in it, I
What's it
think.
called? Josh O'Connor's in it.
Does that have a name
What's it
yet?
called again? The Dish. Is it The Dish? I feel like it's The
That's a
Dish.
silly
It
name.
is.
If
It
it
is
is,
the
I've never
dish.
heard. Is it really?
It is the dish.
Wyatt Russell,
Okay.
Common Domingo is in it. Colin Firth. Interesting.
Wyatt Russell's like a
Interesting.
new upcomer. Yeah, it's got a decent cast. I'm glad he's going back to like weird sci-fi stuff because he's really good at that. But that was like
Yeah, the
decades
2000
ago.
stuff is really
Yeah,
interesting. AI in Minority Report.
yeah.
Yeah. Something that I just discovered this about the Shrouds, and I think it's really interesting, is that it was initially a television series for Netflix, and he'd even wrote like the first 2 episodes before it was cancelled. Um, and that's what he like used as a jumping off point to like make this.
Thank
No, yeah, it got
goodness
cancelled.
for
Are you putting
that.
there? Yeah, it got cancelled because of
Yes,
Maybe
COVID.
I was
yeah.
happy.
Okay, I thought
Happy.
you. um,
Happy that it
I
got
feel like
cancelled.
yeah, I feel like we've increasingly seen that. Like I said, like Scorsese is like going to the streamers. He's not in a series, but like I feel like a lot of people are going towards that kind of like series route. Obviously, Lynch done it with his last project. Netflix, fuck you, also cancelled one of his
Yeah.
projects. Apparently, it was still with Netflix that he was supposed to do something, wasn't it? Anyway, but Alfonso Cuarón done like the Apple series. Michael
Apparently it
Haneke
sucked
also
as well.
tried to do
Did
a
anyone
TV
even
show
watch
before.
that?
Like, what disclaimer?
Disclaimer was it?
I'm not sure
I
how
heard it was
popular it
really
was.
bad.
No, I
I
heard it
didn't
was
hear
good,
any
but
good
it
things.
wasn't. I don't know if audiences really like it. But yeah,
Yeah.
Michael Haneke tried to do a TV series as well before it got cancelled because of COVID.
Mm.
So there's a lot of people trying to get it in that route because the gap between prestige TV and cinema is almost like kind of closing. Where not only like are movies looking like TV, but like they're kind of like what Lynch done, where he basically just done an 18-hour movie where he's directing and writing the whole thing, and it's not like pushed down to other people doing each episode. I feel like a lot of people are seeing that and seeing that they can basically just do 10-hour
One
movies,
Car Y
and
as
that's
well.
yes, Wong Kar-wai, and that's basically what um Cronenberg was going to do. It'd be like a 10-hour movie basically for Netflix.
That sucks, man. That really sucks. Yeah, our films are starting to look like TV shows in the worst possible of ways.
I just thought the use of screens and like just the like interfaces and stuff was interesting. It kind of reminded me of De Palma. I know you just watched Passion, but it's kind of got that like similar like boomer like interest in like technology. Like he's so interested. It's not like he's not even like trying to like they obviously they are saying stuff with it, but I don't think they're like purposely like mindfully doing it. They're just like so interested in the fact that everybody has a phone in the pocket, and it's not. It kind of like makes its way naturally into the story, like a lot of the themes in this. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I know people like use it to like as a quote. He's probably going to be used as a quote against him for his whole career. But that Robert Eggers quote about cars and phones. But I just do kind of agree. I'd rather
Wait,
not just see
wait. What did
people.
he?
The
What did he
quote where he
say
said he
again?
would never shoot, he'd never want to shoot a car, and he'd never want to shoot a mobile phone.
Your phone. That sucks. That sucks.
No, I feel like
Those frogs
the parts
stink.
of this made me like kind of agree. Like I just don't want to see people look like they're in car commercials, and I don't want to.
True.
I know they're part of everyday life, but I don't care to see phones.
Yeah, but when you've got someone like Cronenberg doing it, it's really fascinating. And the film I mentioned, Seven Veils, really interesting and uncomfortable way of shooting tablets and laptops in that film. I would highly recommend that film. It is fantastic. Yeah, Atomy Goyen, that's it. Really interesting filmmaker. Made Exotica as well, which is one of the best things I've seen all year. But yeah, Seven Veils, another great trauma-related film. Okay, so
So good.
5 best watches of June. We are a bit late to this, but oh well, we're doing it anyway. At 5, giving Daniel a bit of a hard time with 5 and 4 on my list here, but I have Goddard's Goodbye to Language at 5 from 2014. His like post 90s 2000s work is so fascinating. Like you'd probably put you into a coma, Daniel. It's like it's really different, but it's like it's so experimental, like ridiculously experimental. Like his use of digital is crazy. It's like everything is so, you get these like really overly saturated images, like it's so bright, and yeah, and made on very minimal budgets. But I thought it was incredible. I, one of the films, some of his films are kind of indescribable in that sense. But no, I really, really do love them. At number 4, I have another Godard. I have Pierre Le Fou. Kind of his take on a Bonnie and Clyde story. And kind of moving out of this kind of
But inspired Bonnie and Clyde, the movie.
true, but obviously the
Yeah, no, I
actual
get what you meant. That was, yeah.
He is kind of moving out of this kind of black and white new wave kind of era of his career and made this just maximalist, so colorful, lovers on the run story, surreal, and yeah, it's really fantastic. Strange, slightly strange in places, but it is absolutely gorgeous. And yeah,
The one time
incredible
he
film.
hit.
Hey, yeah. Um, that is egregious, really egregious. Might I just say?
It was a lie.
Um,
It was a bit.
yeah, you should watch some more of his films.
I might
One
have one.
moment. Okay, my number 3 pick is a film from 2007 called Boarding Gate by French director Olivier Assayas, who is a really incredible filmmaker. I don't know if any of you guys have seen his films, but really fantastic. Digital film, really gorgeous, kind of globe trotting in a sense. And starring the late Michael Madsen with maybe my favorite performance of his. Is kind of doom romanticism in kind of a modern world. And yeah, real this like paranoid digital utopia stuff, I find so convincing. Like no matter like what director, it just hits every time for me. Like when Lynch and Mann do it, and I really really love it. But yeah, Boarding Gate, really incredible film. Um, my Coming in at number two, I have a film called His Motorbike, Her Island. I think it's still on Prime. I would highly recommend it. It it's about it is still on Prime. It's about this um motorcycle rider who kind of meets this girl and kind of romanticizes about her, and anything that isn't reality is like in black and white, and everything that is in color, and it like fades between the two. And there are shots where it's like a tiny portion of the shot will be in color and the rest will be in black and white, and it's is crazy. But no, one of the best uses of kind of shifting between color and black and white that I've ever seen. I gave it 5 stars. I was so hooked. It's kind of sad and kind of moving between like relationships and affairs, and it is 90 minutes long. It looks gorgeous, and yeah, I don't know, just really hit me in the spot when I was watching it. And yeah, one of my one of 2 5 stars I gave last month. But my number one from last month was a film called Last Year at Marienbad, directed by Alan Resnais, who made Hiroshima Mon Amour, another film that I watched recently. Incredible film, but this completely blew me away. Is Someone described it as interdimensional cinema, and I don't think there's any better way of putting it. It is like completely devoid of convention and narrative form and structure, and it kind of really takes a dig at the way we try and find metaphors in everything, and how everything has to have kind of a story, a structure in a sense. And it is like it's kind of like Tenet on steroids, is how I describe it. It's like the cinema's first temporal pincer. Um, and yeah, it is it
Is it
is
like a
wild.
vibes movie or
What do you mean?
like people describe like Tenet as like a vibes movie, like feel it, don't think about it.
Yeah, but in a sense, but like Tenet almost gives you something um to think about. Like
Right, yeah.
this does, but it's like it's so impossible to describe. Like interdimensional cinema is genuinely the best way to describe it. Is completely
Right.
and utterly one of a kind. Yeah, like you'll just get like conversation, like the fairly non-linear and kind of narration. You get like conversations that will start in one place and then quickly like cut, and you'll just be in another place, and it's the same conversation with the same characters. You'll just be in a completely different place, and it's like, yeah, like I said, non-linear. There's no sense of time. It is it's beautiful. It is incredible. One of the best things I've seen all year. And I would highly recommend. Martin Scorsese has it on his top 10 widescreen films on his letterbox list that he made that one time. So everyone should go and watch it. It's wild. It truly is. You got to be locked in, but even then, like you're not. I know most people probably hate it for that reason, but yeah, it's not one of those films. Yeah, it's definitely one of the more feel it films in that sense. But no, it's unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Really.
Can I go
Was that
next?
your?
Because
Yeah, you
what
go.
you
Yeah.
just described kind of reminded me of the way you described it reminds me of my number five, and that's "Song to Song" by Terrence Malick. Uh, we done the Thin Red Line last month at some point, so I finished watching off his filmography, and "Song to Song" is like one of his most polarizing, just because he's more modern style is like, again, like what you're saying, like there is really kind of no narrative to it, and that's very like one of the more definitions of a vibes movie, and you just feel it, and like the characters jumping about, and there's not a whole lot of narrative to follow, but it's like such a great music kind of movie where he's like, again, kind of like Cronenberg, where he always uses Toronto. Like, it's him going to Austin for the first time. I think the first time in his movies, But yeah, he very uses like the Austin music scene as like the center point of this movie, and it's completely stacked with actors, like Ryan Gosling, Natalie Portman, who else is in that? Rooney Mara,
It's crazy that
Kate
cast.
Blanchett, Fassbender. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a crazy stacked cast.
When Gosling,
I
maybe the
definitely.
last great film Gosling was in.
I think
When
was he
was
in
this?
Blade Runner after
2017?
it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess. It's good. Yeah, I like Blade Runner 2049. But like, after that, he's just like career trajectory is fallen off a
yeah.
cliff.
um, yeah, crazy. I'd recommend. I wouldn't jump straight into it though. I'd
Oh yeah.
watch Malik's more modern films in order. I think because there's an evolution there.
Mhm.
Number four also has a my number four also has a link to what you're talking about because I have a Godard film. Lucky Daniel. Um, I have Breathless in here, which is like also everyone knows Breathless. It's like one of the greatest or most well-known international films ever made. Um, the center point of um, what's the movie coming out this year?
Oh, Nouvelle Vague.
Yes, the center point of that after Richard Linklater's movie, following the
Hmm.
making of this movie. Very similar to Poor LeFou as well, his movie when it's kind of just a person on the
Hmm.
run. Also one there's not really a whole lot of narrative as well.
Hmm.
But yeah, if you've not seen that, definitely check it out because you will want to watch the new Richard Linklater movie when it comes out this year. Um,
We got two new Linklater films coming out this year.
Thank God.
do we?
Yeah, Blue Moon.
Oh yeah.
And that's
Um,
actually got a release date.
what did I miss? Number three. I accidentally went in the wrong order. I'd swap this for song to song, but another one of my favorite watches of the month was Man on Fire, by Tony Scott,
Good
which I
movie.
really made my way. Oh yeah, I
Good
think
film.
yeah, you've both seen this.
Hmm.
Um, I'm very quite far into Tony Scott's filmography now. Finally watching some Denzel movies to see how great of an actor he is, and yeah, this is great. It's got a young Dakota Fanning in here, which is just she has like just the greatest like child performances of all time, including I Am Sam. Or is
Yeah.
that no? That's, is that
No,
her?
it's it is.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's such a like stylistically strong movie by Tony Scott. It's a bit different from his other stuff, I guess. But I think it's one of his best. Yeah, really recommend that. My number two is Dance in the Dark by
Oh,
Lars von Trier,
bang.
which this is like the definition of like cool digital stuff from the early 2000s. It's I get kind
And
of like
shot by Robbie Miller. Shot by Robbie Miller.
yes, Robbie Miller, one of the greatest DPs ever.
That's
Um,
like the
and
crazy like transition from his like really maximalist neon colors to the digital stuff that he's doing with Von Trier is
yeah,
crazy. His
and it's
range
so
is
low
unbelievable.
quality
And
and grey, and it's such
mm,
a unique look.
he did Breaking the Waves as well, and the black and white
Mm.
film Dead Man with Jim Jarmusch, and he did Ghost Dog as well. Yeah, he really is the goat.
Yeah, it's so different. It's kind of like 28 Days Later, where like you just couldn't do this now. The quality is like so low. I don't know what they used to shoot
Mm.
this specific film, but it's kind of that similar vibe where it's just a really low digital camera. And it's such a depressing film, and then it'll just break into these musical numbers, and it's like so
So
exciting,
good.
and it's one of the best things I've seen all year.
Mm.
Yeah, I need to watch more of Von Trier, even though it's like
Hmm.
depresses you after watching them.
It's like Hanukkah.
Yeah, exactly. And my number one is I needed I kind of like forced a good watch or invited like the last day of the month because I needed to watch something good. So I went safe and I went I'm gonna watch Malcolm X, because I'd watched all of Spike Lee's movies up to that, and then I just didn't get to it, and it felt like a guaranteed banger, and it definitely was. This is definitely Denzel's best performance. It's such a strong direction from Spike Lee. I mean, I wouldn't put it above Do the Right Thing because I think that's also basically like a masterpiece. But I think this is one of the best films of the 90s as well. Like 92 is a ridiculously strong year. There's like Malcolm X, what's this loading?
92. What? Bram Stoker's Dracula, Firewalk with
Dracula,
Me.
Twin Peaks, Batman Returns, Unforgiven, one Best Picture.
Mm,
Like, it's crazy a year that Malcolm X comes out and it's such a great film. I don't think I think it got like one nomination that year.
that's crazy. The
It's
Oscars
crazy.
kind of. That is crazy.
Yeah. Or costume design, actually. I think it got two. It got costume design as well. Because the suits, oh my god, the suits in this, they're so dripped out at the start of this movie. The costume
On
design is
point.
incredible.
Mm,
Yeah. I think, just definitely one of Spike Lee's strongest films. Hopefully we're talking about a good Spike Lee film soon on the podcast.
yes, hopefully. That is not getting a theatrical release at all, by the way, is it? That's
Really?
no, no. I think it's only going to get one in America. Apple kind of they suck, just like Netflix. Let's have a look. I really don't think it is going to. Let's go on Letterboxd and see. It's on Letterboxd. It's only slated for a limited one in the US at the moment, which stinks. That's only. I didn't realize that's under a month away. Damn.
The
Yeah.
Denzel agenda has ended.
Yeah, perhaps.
You actually watched the film.
Daniel, what are your 5 then?
My 5. I've had all this. Oh yeah, no, I've got this. 5. I've got Green Snake, which is I think you would count as a wuxia film. From my film studies. It's
What is that again? Is that the dancing like martial
like
arts thing?
you know when they're like
Yeah, it's like a type of. Well, I don't know how to describe. It's like I guess like
Hero and Couching
yeah,
Tiger.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
crouch. You know when they're running through the
yeah.
treetops. There's some of that in there. Like the monk in this is doing
Wuxia
like
is a genre of Chinese fiction concerning the adventures of martial artists in ancient China.
so. This is more romance focused, I would say. But there's like a mad monk in this who's like airbending, and it looks like insane. He's like shooting fireballs. The central romance is like a weird love triangle. It's quite strange. It's really hard to describe. I think the best way to describe it is like the visuals that will get people to watch it. It's so colourful, like the reds and greens and yellows, like really
The
pop every
pinks
time.
are just
The pinks, yeah. If you like look at the backdrops on Letterboxd, I think that'd just sell you on watching it.
the practical
Yeah,
work in that film is crazy.
yeah, because they obviously have like snake bodies and like the way that all works is insane. I
Every
find with like
frame is a painting in that film.
I find with Hong Kong films, only has 14K logs. If you just pick that sort of film and it has like 2K logs, which I've done, like even the goofy films look insane. The directors,
Sue Hark is a really interesting director who I need to watch more of his films because I've heard really great things about some of his films.
yeah,
He has
I
films that
do want
look
to get
like it's got
into it.
like the John Woo treatment of when he went to America and like people hated them.
Like Knockoff, Double
Yeah.
Team.
yeah,
Once Upon a Time in China. But no,
Yeah.
Green Snake is a really incredible film. I really love that. Really, really love that stuff.
yeah,
Um,
definitely
but yeah,
watch that.
14K Logs is crazy. Maggie Chung as well. One of my favorite actresses.
She's
She's
in
the
it?
lead in that film. Yeah, she's in it. She's so good. But yeah, really, really, really great.
My
I need to
4 is
watch it.
my 4 is a film
You
from
don't.
this year. It's a comedy. It's Friendship. Tim Robinson, I'm not familiar with. I know he's quite big in America. He's not really been exported over here, particularly. He's not like a household name like he's in America. It is a. I love a pure comedy that's actually funny. I feel like we don't get many of those. Like Shrouds is funny, but it's not a comedy film. This is like pure comedy, I'd say, and it does like the dry British humor where it's not picking up on social cues. Like Paul Rudd is like a cool neighbor who, by the way, Paul Rudd is in a good film, which is incredible. Paul Rudd, like, yeah, he's just not picking up the social cues Paul Rudd's giving out. Like, he's friends with him at first, and then he's like had enough of him, but he's like got nothing going on in his life. Tim Robinson, so he's like attached himself to him. It is a funny film. There's some like really good lines in this. It's quite high in my my ratings for this year. It reminds me of like the British Office, if you like that dry humor, or Nathan Fielder, who's like really big now. He's funny as well. So yeah, that's a good new release. I'm glad I've got one in here for the month.
The trailer for that looked quite funny. I like that end, but he's like, I hear there's a new Marvel movie out and it's epic or something. He
Yeah,
says.
he's like obsessed with Marvel films. They really like take the piss
Is
out of
it?
the fact that he's the most like average, boring guy ever. He has like an office job and he loves Marvel.
Oh dear.
And there's a really funny implication that the mum and his son are like more than platonically like. It's so weird. That was like there's a joke that he's been like cooked by his own son. I don't know. It's a funny film. Definitely
Is
watch
that out
it.
on digital?
Yeah, that's how I've seen it because I don't even know if it's been
Okay.
released yet. To be honest, I
Mm.
didn't just say that. Number three,
Allegedly.
allegedly. Number three is Terrence Malick's Tree of Life, which I think you guys know took me like 6 goes to watch because I kept turning it off in the original montage, not because I didn't like it, but I was like, oh, I'm not in the mood. I want to be in a mood for a Malick. It took Thin Red Line like 4 goes, and then I still not cracked Days of Heaven, and it's shorter than the other two. It's took me
That's
like
so peak.
2 goes at
Days of
that.
Heaven.
Um, so yeah, I'm patient with those. If I'm not feeling it, I won't watch it because I feel like you gotta respect Malick more than like the average director, I'd say. But Tree of Life, very meditative, very good. I can't really say anything that's not been said about it. Um, I like that Sean Penn isn't in it much because I don't like him, but there's nothing wrong with him in this film. Brad
It's just
Pitt,
I am Sam PTSD now.
yeah, I've
It
just
has
got
kind
Iron
of
Man
tainted them, I'm not gonna
PTSD.
lie.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
tainted
he
him.
is.
And Brad Pitt shows
Funny.
he's not just like a slop guy. He can do like slow meditative cinema. He's really good in this as well. And it's like a beautiful film, like the montages of like life, and I couldn't believe there's dinosaurs in this film and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting any of that. It's a good film. Number two is my exact type of film. This is like the definition of films I love. The Swimmer, by Frank Perry. Oscar's seen it. Have you seen it, Ryan?
Love it.
I've not. I tried to watch it. I was telling you about it.
Incredible film. Just
Oh
like
yeah,
one of those films that you get people. Sorry, to interrupt. But like films that like represent America the most. I saw like loads of like 4th of July lists. This is absolutely one of those lists. On one of those lists is such an incredible film.
yeah. I love films that like deconstruct the American dream or like suburban and domestic life, and this does it. It's like
It is suburban hell.
the slow meltdown he has, where like you slowly unravel how like in ruins this guy's life is, and all the conflicts he's created with his neighbors, and how cold they are towards him. And then the ending is incredible, like
My
the rain and
goodness.
the way the house looks when he gets there. Yeah, I can't say much about spoiling it, but it's such a good like deconstruction of like suburban life and the attitudes people have in like privilege towards people who, aren't have fallen out of privilege or have fallen out the norms that are expected of them. Yeah, Burt Lancaster's a really good actor, and I need to watch more of things he's in. So the only other thing I've seen is in his Field of Dreams. Um, and then my number one is I forgot I even saw that this month was Ran. I was very lucky because it was the first watch and it was in the cinema, like 4K restoration. It was one of those I was putting off forever because I just didn't want to watch it at home. But as soon as I heard it had a cinema release, I booked it. And it was after my first week of full time work, so it was like a dopamine like overdose I was having in that cinema. Um, it's hard to say if it's my favorite Kurosawa because I typically give his films 5s and 4.5s. I think it is my favorite, but I've only scratched the surface. I've seen his like most popular films except for High and Low, which I'm gonna watch back to back probably with the new one, even though they'll be completely different.
Yeah,
But I'm excited
High
for
and
both.
Low is his
Um,
best film, I think.
it's just one of those films that sort of Rand is one of those films that sort of transcends like other films. Like, you're watching like the 100 horses that are running around, and when you realize like the mental state Kurosawa was in when he made this, it was like really depressed. It's just like a miracle that this is what all this creative output was put into. I'd honestly suggest doing what I did and waiting for a cinema release. It is worth it. It was going to be my 2000th log, which I'm not far off from, but now I've seen it. I don't know. I need to elect a new one. But yeah, great film and by far the best I saw last month. I gave it a 5.
Yeah, I
Nice.
also seen that re-released, rewatch, so it wasn't in my best watches, but yeah, it was just incredible, man. Like, it's so hard to rank Kurosawa because every time I watch one of his new ones, like that becomes my new favorite.
Yeah,
And there's like generally like 6 movies that he has where like you could say it's your favorite, and I wouldn't even blink.
and it's good because the
I
more
guess
you watch, the more you like see from his other films. Like some of the
yeah,
sequences of this remind me of like Throne of Blood when like the tower's being attacked with like artillery and bow and arrows. Yeah, it is a director that like builds upon himself. The more you watch, is really good, and he's not just good at like the samurai stuff. He's like Ikiru is a really good social drama. So I'm definitely gonna look at
Yeah,
Blood.
High and Low is unbelievable.
yeah,
Mm.
and his color stuff at the end of his career is like some just like everyone who done is like the most beautiful looking
Dreams
film
is
you've ever seen.
ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah, Darso Huzala, which is like a Russian film that he made before Ran, is like incredible as well. He
Cage and
also
Musher as
done
well. I've heard really.
Kajimusha. Yeah, that looks really cool.
Yeah,
I've not seen it, but
I need to watch that. It does look cool.
yeah, I might just binge through Kurosawa finally,
it's not a bad
like
idea.
from the start. Although I think he has like propaganda films at the start.
That's good though.
I, don't- I like to watch in order though when I like finally binge them, but I don't know, that might be rough if you start from like what is it, the 40s when he started.
Yeah,
That's our best watches of June. Um, let us know what your favorite watch of last month was, or this month as well, because it's almost the end of July. They've took so long to get us done. And also what you thought of Shrouds. For Shrouds, your favorite, maybe it was your favorite first watch of the month. But yeah, let us know in the comments, and we'll be back next week for Superman.
Doubted it for a second.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
I believe there's a hero in all of us that keeps us honest, gives us strength, makes us noble.
You just gotta keep living, man. Livin.
Son of a bitch. Stole my life.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.